All righty. So the next panel, I'm actually really, really excited about this one. The conversation is about reimagining the wealth. So that, as you can see, the Wealth Reimagined Playbook. And so when we were selecting people to be on this fireside chat, we were really intentional about individuals that could have authentic, transparent conversations about wealth beyond the idea of just amassing it, but using it to fuel their actual personal, goals, whether it is through creativity, through animation, through real estate, whatever that looks like. And so with that, I wanted to make sure that the moderator for this conversation was someone who could have, again, very transparent, very authentic conversations. So it removes all of the, oftentimes like that high level wall that makes the conversations around money seem unattainable or way too over your head. So I wanted to, we're gonna bring it down and make it extremely realistic. And so with this conversation, I thought it was really important that we ensure that this is not just a conversation centering around capitalism, right? Because we understand that oftentimes when we think about wealth, when we think about amassing wealth, there tends to be a focus on capitalism, whether you like it or not. And so we want this panel to be about not centering capitalism. So we're not gonna just have a venting session, essentially just talking about how we feel about capitalism. But we're going to make sure that you guys leave this space understanding how these individuals, as well as the moderator, are engaging our community in conversations around wealth, around entrepreneurship, but then also around growing our community as a whole. And so with that, I would like to introduce our panelist, Indy Kalu, and then Mr. TOMONOSHi, Martellus Bennett, but more importantly, no shade to you all, our moderator, who was really worried about like if he was dressed right. You are dressed very perfectly, because again, it's about bringing your authentic self to the space, which I appreciate, because trust me, hey, okay? And I wanted to make sure that everybody, it's like church, come as you are, right? But truly come as you are. And so with that, I would like to introduce our moderator, Deante Kyle, to the stage. You can use this or this.
I'm gonna use this.
Okay, make sure it's on.
Check.
Nope.
I appreciate that. That's a lot of water.
Check. Y'all can hear me? Yeah, because I hopped out the car and everybody had on suits. I was like, oh, shit. I got my little Trump suit in me, you know what I mean? How y'all doing? I'm Deante Kyle, host of the Grits and Eggs podcast. I was invited here, and I let them know, like, do y'all watch my show? Y'all know I ain't like for all that money talk all the time. I'm more community for it, so they let me know it was going to be an alignment. Martellus and Indy, if y'all want to do a brief introduction of yourselves so people know who y'all are.
Can y'all hear me? Okay, my name's Indy Kalu. I live out here in Missouri City. I grew up in San Antonio.
Hold on, Indy. They ain't going to let you get off like that.
That ain't going to work? Mic check. Y'all can hear? Okay. All right, first of all, thank you for letting me be here. My name is Indy Kalu. Grew up in San Antonio, Texas, of Nigerian descent. Born here, so if ICE is outside, you ain't taking me nowhere. I was born here, but very proud Nigerian blood running through my veins, and went to the greatest school in the history of schools to study and play football, Rice University. So after graduating there, I was lucky enough and blessed enough to play 12 years in the NFL. I guess part of the reason I'm here, when I was playing in the NFL, I never expected to play 12 years. So every off season, I would do something to get ready for life after football. Went to Champion School of Real Estate. Sure y'all have heard of that. Mainly just to learn and get knowledge. Bought my first apartment complex. Did not know what I was doing. Went to another Rice brother who started a construction company soon after we graduated. And he said, okay, let me go over there and fix it up for you so you can put it back on the market. Made a ton of mistakes, but when it was all said and done, made some money on it. And that's kind of when the light bulb went off. So every off season, took more classes, bought more properties. And by the time I was done, I was lucky enough to own 75 properties here in Houston. became a broker. And don't say wow. A lot of them I should have known because they weren't good buys. Like, I will say this. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I know all the answers. If anything, I'm going to tell y'all the mistakes I made, because when people start telling me how great they are, they're on social media saying we buying up the block. I'm like, that's a little, I get a little skeptical. So I will tell you I made mistake after mistake, but I'm still here. But just want to talk and hopefully give y'all some nuggets to take with you.
Yeah, I am it's always tough to try to summarize myself and find a box to place myself in, because I have lived outside of boxes the majority of my life. And but I am someone who has been able to manufacture their imagination into several different types of products, from candy bars to bicycles to designing playgrounds to writing curriculums to doing animation and storytelling. And I am an author by day, but I also am able to speak fluently in several design languages. So I can, I've built video games, I've made ice cream, I also executive produce animated series at Disney that comes out in January, but I also spend a lot of my time thinking about the Black family and the dynamic of the household and what we spend our time consuming, the consumption of Blackness. And what does that look like, and what does that feel like? I deal with Blackness. I love being Black, and I find there to be nothing wrong with being Black. And when I write about Blackness or when I deal with Blackness, I'm usually dealing with it from the fantasticalness of being Black. I don't think there's any type of person on the planet that's more magical than Black people. And so for that, what I try to do is communicate that through the things that I make, whether that's a book, whether that's a song, whether that's a play, whether that's whatever it is that I can make with my Black imagination. And I go around a lot trying to help liberate the Black imagination, because I feel like that's the final stage of freedom for us. We spend a lot of time with our imagination or consuming things where we're overcoming our Blackness. And we spend a lot of time of our imagination thinking about how to survive while being Black. And I think about the freedom to not have to deal with those things. So when I write, I realize that, this is not the name drop, but I was having a conversation with Angela Davis over coffee, and we were talking about liberation, and I was telling her, she's a friend of mine. She is, like, she's a friend. She's a friend of mine. We have a lot of great conversations, but I've been able to spend time with her and talk about many things, and she liberated me in a lot of ways through conversation. And the idea was, I consider myself to be a Black American futurist, and what that means is I only really deal with what the future looks like for Black Americans. I spend a lot of time thinking about my people, and there's no integration in my imagination. I actually just learned how to draw white people like 2 weeks ago. So a lot of my work just is about this freedom of being Black in these worlds where you don't have to think about being Black, and your Blackness is not the antagonist to your existence.
Round of applause for that. You both talk about Playbook. On the field, you have one. In business, you have to build one. What are some equivalent plays your 30-year-old self setting up wealth for your 60-year-old self? Like, how, like, you see what I'm saying?
I hear you, my nigga. Well, for me, like, for where I realized was that for my family, I think about not myself, but setting up the next generation of my family. And when I think about, I don't really think about generational wealth. I think about generational knowledge, the ability to do it again and again and again and again, because wealth can be lost in a single generation. Like money is not guaranteed, but the ability to have the knowledge to build it again. So I think about transferable wisdom and transferable skills. I can't teach, if I had a son, I wouldn't be able to guarantee that he could play football. But my daughter, I could teach her how to write and how to go through the publishing industry and how to make her books and how to draw and how to, I could teach her my skills so that she could build on top of what I've already built. I also don't really believe in this. I think one of the things that kills legacy is ambition. And what I mean by ambition is I think there's a lot of times where everybody has singular dreams within the household, and no one is compounding the interest of the dream that was built in order to put the roof on top of the head that's already there. Everybody wants to move in their own direction, and it's like this lack of understanding of what the sacrifices were made to do this thing. So when I think about it, for my daughter, I think about intellectual property. So if I'm working with Disney, how much of that ownership do we have? If I have these characters, I may not be able to make the best story for them, but my daughter inherits these characters, and she could tell her own version of these stories when it's her turn. It's no different from when they sell Star Wars and then they make a movie about it again and again and again. Her kids, my grandchildren, will be able to work somewhere within the company structure and be able to take they may want to make toys. I may not have done a great job at toys, but they may be really interested in toys. They could take all the characters and still live out their dream, but they already have the intellectual property to do so, and there's value in that. So I think about wealth in a way of long-term, of intellectual property and actually owning story, because anything in the world that is sold through story. And there's a big value in that for me in my household. So as far as wealth, I invested in a lot of my ideas. A couple of things that I did was like what I didn't do well was short-term, mid-term, long-term. Animation, I didn't realize how long it was going to take and how much investment would be on the front end and how much I have to wait on the back end by financing it myself. And the thing that happens with the Black imagination is that when white people don't see themselves in the worlds that you were building, they don't really see value in the world. So therefore, you have to come out your own pockets and then take it to your people in order to them. But then what happens is your people sometimes don't see value of it if it doesn't deal with trauma. So when you have a kid if you write a children's book about a kid who's just chasing a unicorn, it feels frivolous to the community. If you write about somebody not touching your hair, they could see the value in that. And what I learned was that trauma can be sold because trauma has a price on it, because we know the price that was paid. While the liberation of the future, there is no price of the freedom of imaginative play or imaginative thinking. And a lot of us didn't experience imaginative play, so therefore we don't really see it as value because we think of surviving instead of thriving. So I don't know if that answers your question, but for me, I think a lot of it is like continue to build this world, which to me, IP is capital, right? You can sell it, because people don't understand what a book is. A book is not just the physical product in which you hold. The characters in there become toys, stickers, games, movies. So that one world, Harry Potter, can end up being a theme park based on this book. So you got to think about the diversification of the text and what text becomes, because to me, literature is the foundation of all existence. No matter what it is, the architecture of the world is built through word before we even imagine anything else. Words can destroy. A whisper has destroyed the most powerful country, but it also can give you confidence, and it can also build you up, and it can also build the world that you wish to exist, but it all starts with the way that we use language.
Let me tell you why I'm mad right now. When I was, this is a true story. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
But let me tell you why.
He told y'all he was at lunch with Angela Davis. I don't know what y'all thought.
Breakfast. Yeah. Sorry, I don't talk a lot, so when I do, I like to share. I got a lot. I write a lot, so I think a lot, and it's just another chance to share with.
That was hard, son. Don't apologize for that. But When I was driving in, I knew the term generational wealth was going to come up. And I was all, man, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to tell him it's about generational knowledge. And he said that, and I was like, God, dog, I can't even spit what I wanted to say.
But generational knowledge is huge. Like the know-how. Like if my dad was a dentist and I was a dentist, then my kids was a dentist. That's 3 generations of dentistry that we could build compound interest on. And then you start thinking about the instruments to use. And now someone is designing the tools in which dad needs. So like I don't think that my daughter has to write, but there's a space for her within the business for her to live her dream. And my nephews, my cousins can work. He can learn how to warehouse my books and ship them to all the factories. Right? So now we building I'm interested in family business. I'm not interested in like being a billionaire, right? I just want to have enough money where I can make my books, go to Sweden every once in a while and write in the mountains, you know, or then travel to Japan. I love Japan. Just go to Japan and spend 2 months writing a book and come back and sell it. You know, like I like a quiet life. I don't really like all the shenanigans that comes with the idea of being a billionaire. And it also is quite impossible for most to do. I heard the last guy say, it's so easy. Fuck nah, no it's not. It's incredibly hard. It's making $5, let alone $5 million. You know, selling books is the worst thing you could possibly do. Ain't nobody reading. Terrible business. Oh my God. You know how hard it is to sell a book? I always tell my wife it's easy to be a drug dealer because when you sell drugs, people come looking for you. You sell books, you gotta go find them. You can't even sell a book in a school.
And with Trump, you can't sell a book with a black face in it anymore. You can't even read one.
Well, that's why I feel like it's very important for us to write. I feel like it's very important for us to write. And I think it's very important for black men to write. I get a lot of flack for this, but I think black women are about 10 years ahead of black men. And, huh?
It's a fact.
Yeah, and I think that
I get a lot of flack for it too.
they understand communion, they understand fellowship, and I think that for the black male population, a lot of our togetherness has been through the sport, not through ideas and in placement of the pursuit of betterment. Like the pursuit of betterment for the black male in sports is obvious. You know what you got to do. We know when we need to show up and run. We know when we do this. But the pursuit in real estate and the pursuit of black thought and the pursuit of all these things, it starts to feel lonely. And then the thinking black man feels like he has to go and battle the non-thinking black man. And those discrepancies between those two as a black man can have you feeling lonely in the world. While with black women, it's easier to find other black women that are interested, but I also find that black women love being black more holistically than black men do sometimes. So, you know, sorry.
I'm hoping they record it. It's a camera right there.
Yeah.
Handle your business.
Yes, so and you just look at society today and how high the black women has uplifted themselves. And that uplift is very important. And I think with black men, we have to learn how to uplift each other in a way in which it continues to grow not just the individual, but the entire community, right? And it's like, how do we build those foundations of thought, those pillars in which the next generation of young black men, they could take the stairs, right? Because we already built the gateway to the top. Now, I do think that a lot of it stems because of reading, and not just because I'm an author, but it's scientifically proven that 75% of black boys aren't up to grade reading level by the 4th grade. And if you can't, and if you can't read, it's going to be very, very hard to succeed. And the craziest thing is the way they decide how many prisons need to be built is based on the reading level of 4th grade. So if you look at the 75% of black boys who are up to grade reading level, and you look at the 75% of the prison system being black boys, the correlation is crazy. So black girls, they are way ahead as readers. And that's not just you could point to black boys being like they never read, but then they need more literature by black men. Only 1% of teachers in America are black men. If you don't see in your household, if you don't see the man in your life taking literature or education or knowledge seriously, then why would you? At one point, being an educated black man was the sexiest thing you can do. Man, you had your nigga could read, you brought him home, Mama, he could read. You got one that could read? Oh my God, you better marry that man. Now, and then you think about the way society and you think about the imagery of the black man, it has been it has been twisted where the body of the black man has been more desirable. The faster you could run, the more money you could make. The higher you could jump, the more money you could pay. It comes to the point where your 40 time is more important than your GPA. So we have to reconstruct the mind of the black boy, but first we have to reconstruct the mind of the black man and how we allow them to portray us in media and text and books and music and the things that we decide to glorify and the things that we decide to clap for. And what does that look like? My bad, I get very excited about all this stuff. Yeah.
This is a pleasure. This is a pleasure. Your mic. Right about going to rice, and I gave away my mic. Yeah. No, there was really nothing to add to that except for the whole generational of knowledge. Like for me, because I'm not artistic, I don't have a artistic bone in my body. So the things that I want to pass down to my kids is just the knowledge, and what I know is real estate. Even with my son, he plays football at Baylor, and when I go see him and I looked at his curriculum before I looked at his stats, I don't like what they're teaching him. So I said, look, do what they want you to do for 4 or 5 years, get that degree, but you're going to have to re-educate yourself because they just have you in the classes that's going to keep you on the football field. But if you want to get into the family business, you're going to have to learn finance. You're going to have to learn accounting. You're going to have to learn construction. And I don't care where you learn it from. Now you could learn it from YouTube University, from community colleges. When I came here, I was all high and mighty thinking about myself, man, when I get married, when I get kids, they're going to come to Rice. If they don't go to Rice, I'm going to disown them. But now with the knowledge that you can get from anywhere, you just have to make it cool to be knowledgeable. And that's my biggest challenge is just making sure our kids understand, how cool it is to be knowledgeable.
And D, I'm going to stay with you for a minute. You moved into private lending for real estate. Often wealth is hidden behind this I own this rhetoric. You say transparent and accessible. Walk us through what that looked like when you started and how that builds trust and scale.
Okay, so with us being transparent,
See, that's what they do to you at white universities. When you start speaking black truth, they like, get him up out there. Who gave him a mic? Especially one called rice. Ain't no black rice. This ain't jollof rice. This just regular ass rice. All right.
don't give me the mic now.
They like, hey, no, that's enough of that.
What'd you ask me?
See, now my damn
Y'all remember what was the question?
Check. I'm gonna use this. Dang. Martellus messing up all the mics. You moved into private lending.
Oh, that's right, transparency. Yeah, okay.
Good. You good?
Yeah, appreciate it. The whole thing with us, and we're big on transparency, and my partner in the business, it's funny, it's a small world. My partner in the lending business actually grew up with Martellus and his brother Michael in A-Leaf, Texas, the SWAT. He also went to Rice University, and I'm showing my age. He interned for me years ago when I had an office in the Black Wall Street. Y'all know where that's at? 2616 building, yeah. by the old Bennett. Where I get turned up at 12 o'clock, then you go back to the office. But he would come intern with me. Then he went away. He came back about 4 years later, and he was like, hey, I took your advice. I got 20 properties now. I want the company to manage them. I want to do some stuff with you. And I was like, you took my advice? No, I need some advice from you because what you just did was amazing. So long story short, we went from flipping homes, individual homes, and we were using hard money lenders. We were using banks. We had a line of credit with banks. And then we had one opportunity that just fell in our lap. A man in Bel Air, he needed some money. He put his house up as collateral, and he needed a certain amount. I'm not going to say what the money is. And we were going to offer him 15%. So paid us back. We had a real estate lawyer who went to TSU. Shout out to Natasha Gransberry. I don't know if y'all know her. Gransberry Law. Yeah. She wrote up all the paperwork, made sure we did everything legit. So long story short, when we got the return, we kind of just looked at each other and said, man, what are we doing over here flipping houses? Like, we know how to flip. We understand the headaches with the construction. Let's be the bank. Let's be the capital. Put our money together, started lending. A couple of banks helped us out. But transparency is because of fear. We know which banks they're going to go after. We know which lenders they're going to go after. So we want to make sure everything was above board. We want to make sure if anybody came to audit us, they knew that we were doing everything by the law. So it's very important mainly for us to be transparent because we see other lenders that don't look like us. Oh, you could take this shortcut. Oh, you could charge this. And it's like, no, that's predatory lending. Oh, no one's going to find out. Well, they'll find out if we do it. So that's why we're so big on being transparent. Not because I'm some high and mighty perfect guy. I don't want to go to jail. and we have to understand that in business, when we're dealing with finances, we have to move a little bit differently than other folks.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that something you said might have been a solution to one of the questions I proposed about black men. I think apprenticeship is important. I think that, for me, when I played in the NFL, in my off seasons, I would go to LA and I would job shadow. There was this guy named Keith Dawkins, and he was the head of Nickelodeon, black man. And I ran into him at an event, and I was like, yo, can I job shadow you in the off season? He was like, yeah, come on down. So I used to go to LA and I would job shadow him at Nickelodeon. And then from there I met other people. Then I would be at Disney, and then I'll start meeting all the black people in these worlds. And I would be interning in the off season while playing in NFL. Like, I had to go get coffee. I had to go do all these little things. But I thought it was cool. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I'm just sitting in these meetings and I'm just soaking in game. I'm looking at their mistakes. And then one day I called DreamWorks. I was like, hey, I represent Martellus Bennett. I ain't have nobody represent me at the time. It's like, hey, I represent Martellus Bennett. I found out they was giving people tours, celebrities tours of campuses, and I was like, I haven't been to DreamWorks yet. So I called DreamWorks and I'm like, hey, yo, I represent Martellus Bennett. He's in town. He wondered if he could get a tour. They was like, oh, when can he come in? Now. 45 minutes later, I was at DreamWorks. I told my wife, I was like, baby, I got to go to DreamWorks real quick. They told me, I came in with my notebooks. I was making my first animated film. I came in with all these notebooks because I write everything by hand. Like, I never had a playbook in the NFL after my rookie year. I drew all my playbooks by hand. And so I go here with all these notebooks, and I'm like, I'm about to pitch a movie. So we walking around campus. They showing me around. I'm talking to the people or whatever. Then I'm like, man, y'all suck at toys. I don't know no kids that own a Shrek doll, but everybody owns a Buzz Lightyear, so I just start giving them all this thing. The next thing you know, I'm with the CEO and all these people at lunch eating a kale salad. I just never forget the kale salad, you know what I'm saying? I fuck with kale now, though, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes we do collared kales, it's the bougie greens. And but I end up talking them to letting me pitch this movie idea that I didn't have finished. So they was like, can you come back and do it? But I only could come back in 1 week because training camp was starting. So we had to figure out some type of way to make this movie to presentable. So I didn't even know how to do a pitch. So I went back, I talked to everyone at the studio, and we just kind of put the movie together in a way we could show it to them. And I fly back and I got this pitch I write down. 3 seasons of episodes. I'm just going above and beyond. Like, I'm doing merchandising, I'm doing toys, I'm designing all these things. And I come in and it's like 3 people and it's just me. And and one other person that was with me. And I go in there, I do this pitch. We watch the movie, I do this pitch, and I'm like, look, And I'm like, these are the merchandises we're gonna do. This is the toys we're gonna do. This is the rollout for the marketing plan. This is the language we need to use for the marketing plan. And then at the end, I said, look, I don't know shit about making movies, right? You could go to USC or Cal Arts and find you a kid that could make you a movie. But what you cannot find is a kid who could build you a franchise. I'm not interested in movies. I'm interested in franchises. Then I dropped the mic. Literally, I dropped the mic in the meeting because I thought it was just like, hey, yeah, you got to drop the mic to let the motherfuckers know, you know what I'm saying? And they was clapping too. They was like, oh, yeah, this is great. But we can't do the movie. The movie, it had a penguin in it, but they was planning to do all the stuff with the Madagascar penguins. And it was like, oh, we couldn't do a movie. But then the guy there, his name, he ended up being like, hey, let's stay in contact. So then he connected me with Netflix. Then I went to Netflix and I pitched. And then I started making other stuff. And then Disney was actually my first yes. But before that, I had like 20 no's. Sometimes I had no 3 times from the same people. They'll call me back and be like, hey, can you come? It's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm coming back. Hey, baby, they want me to go back over there. Then they say no again. Could you do a mermaid? Like, what the hell? I didn't know y'all wanted a mermaid, you know? So, but ended up Disney being in my first yes, so it ended up being pretty cool. But it all started with that call that I made myself. And once I met those guys, they started introducing me to everybody else because then I ended up taking this class at Harvard, which I failed. It was terrible. And, street smarts don't get you nothing in academia. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, you can't do that. Why not? And then, but while I was there, the secretary for the guy that was at DreamWorks, he left DreamWorks, and now this guy, they had sent him to Harvard Business School to take his job. So I ended up with class with the guy that was a secretary at DreamWorks. But when he was a secretary, we spent a lot of time together on campus because in between things, it would just be me and him hanging out. So then he was like, oh, I got the job now. It's like, damn, I know you got the job now. Come on, dog, what we doing? He's like, I'm here for 2 more years, but when I come back, you need to come back with us. So then you start building these relationships. You start realizing that, man, relationships are everything, right? And just being cool with people. Like, I ain't looking for nothing. I ain't got no agenda. It's like, if you nice, I'm nice, and at least we could try to make some money together.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you made me.
No.
That's why we're here.
I wanted to pose this question to both of you. We talk a lot about money, but art and culture rarely get capital that they deserve. How do you convince yourself and others that investing in creativity is just as strategic as investing in real estate?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, there we go. You keep pushing the button. The button right there. Yeah. You do. All Nigerians do. Y'all got them heavy ass hands. When you shake high five a Nigerian, man, you might leave with a high four. They go take your finger, man. Invested in arts and creativities. Okay, so I think that what happens, what I realize in the Black community is everyone's so talented that they don't really see the value in the creativity that's already amongst us. The number one product that's shipped out of, the number one resource that we have as a Black community has always been our imaginations. We have made things from scraps. We have developed products from, no one ever gave us anything. It always came from the imagination. They gave us the pig, we made chitlins. Right, and the idea of this imagination, this resource, and our number one product that's shipped across globally is Black music. The thing about Black music is we don't own it. So we getting pennies on top of our imagination. The thing that happens when you go to any of these infrastructure, these capital infrastructures, what they're capitalizing on is Black imagination. Right, if I take my animated series, all the institutions are white institutions, right? Like Disney, DreamWorks, Nickelodeon. Those are not Black-owned institutions who already capitalize on the infrastructure needed to distribute the product in which you are trying to distribute. And when you come from a culture of creativity where everybody can make something, everyone has a skill. And what happens is sometimes you don't see the value in your own art. Like there's kids who could dance, but they never think about being ballerinas or what that product can actually, because everyone around them can dance too. So then we end up putting down our artistic abilities and seeing the pathway. And what happens is our community doesn't really recognize the pathway of that art because they didn't think it was possible. And what I always tell kids, or if I'm making the work, is that creativity, a lot of people talk about scalability. Scale is scary. We scale our creativity before it has the infrastructure in order for it to succeed at a scalable rate. And when you are thinking about it, it's easier, not easier, but it makes more sense to start small. Small is not bad. Right? Like, because what we really chasing is, like, you really think about a lot of times when we try to capitalize on our imagination, we're not really trying to expand on it. We're trying to own more things in order to have a life, but we're not really thinking about the value of the long term of our imagination. So we end up giving up a lot of it to the company for pennies on the back end. So then you have to learn how to negotiate your imagination, right? And if I'm manufacturing this, if I'm going to go home and conjure up a song out of nowhere, then you're not doing anything but distributing that. So distribution becomes the hardest thing for the Black imagination. Which channels, which ways, how can I get my imagination to the people in which I want to serve? And this is what made Tyler Perry smart. What Tyler Perry originally did was he did all his plays. And what that allows you to do, like if he goes out on the road with his podcast, he gets to meet his audience. What we happen to do with Black imagination is sometimes you end up thinking that Black is monolithic, but it's not. All Black people don't like the same things. They're not into the same things. I didn't realize why I couldn't connect to Spike Lee movies, but then I realized the Black people in Spike Lee movies weren't like the Black people I grew up with. They were a totally different type of Black person, which is fine because there's the spectrum of Blackness that we have to respect and realize that exists. But then what we also got to do is that find a way to sell our Black imaginations to everybody. Everybody can play in my Black imagination, right? Just because my characters are Black don't mean that I don't want white people reading it. So we try to sell our Black imagination back to the same people in which we came from, which is fine. They are a part of the audience, but in order to scale the distribution of it, how do I get the Asian kids to watch it? And what you really start to think is, we think about Black as a culture when we have to start thinking about Black as the source of the humanity of Blackness. Because the humanity is what is universal regardless of what exists. So when we write Black stories, I always think about the humans that are Black. They just happen to be Black people. Now, their language is different, but so is everybody else's. I watch movies in Japanese all the time, don't know what the hell they be saying. You know what I'm saying? If I go to Atlanta, I don't know what the hell they be saying. Shit, if I go to Oakland, I might as well just be in another country. I don't know what's going on. So like you think about language and this texture that is Blackness, the culture of it, and what is Black culture and what is Black story. They sell us back. It's again, Hollywood likes Black trauma because they have this perversive relationship with this idea of Blackness and selling back trauma and what my brother said there. They capitalize on it, but we go watch it. Trauma porn. I don't want to watch nobody be a slave for 12 years. God damn. I got to watch this brother go. That's the last thing I had on my to-watch list. You know what I'm saying? I want to see kids in spaceships. I want to see people where they are just existing. I want to see a boring Black movie where people just sitting at the table talking, just existing, right? I want to see kids going outside. They're not worried about getting shot. That's not every single neighborhood. Every young Black kid ain't worried about getting shot, right? Like the spectrum of Blackness, we have really rich people. We have middle-class Black people. But so does every other race in the thing. So when do we start to see all versions of ourselves? I was 32 when the first time I saw myself on television. I was watching Jingle Jangle. Nah, even my daughter said, dang, Dad, he just like you. I go, damn, he is. That nigga just like me. The first time I met a black man in a book that I can identify with and relate to totally was when I read Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington. It's like, man, he thinks just like me. And there's something about finding someone who looks like you and thinks like you where you don't have to be the white version of because you have already existed. You don't have to be the white Walt Disney when Oscar Micheaux was making movies in the 1920s and 40s with no backing, right? I don't have to be the white version of Thomas Edison when there's a Granville T. Woods, right? And you think about people like Mary Bethune-Cookman, who built her own university. Booker T. Washington was first-generation slave, and he still has a school here that we can go to. So when you see yourself, it's much more. I don't believe in representation. My work is not representation. Representation can only be done by someone who doesn't look like me, who's trying to represent people who do look like me. My work is a reflection of the community that I come from, the people that I've seen, the people that I have consumed. It's me spitting them back out. That's not representation. That's a reflection of my existence, my black existence. And when you can find yourself in the books that you read, the TV that you watch, and they are like you, that is empowering because when we visit fictitious worlds, we come back changed. We realize our world doesn't have to be the way that it is, and we might have the power to change it. And you think about the black people who make it out of our community the most, they had the most imagination. Oh.
Podcast. You just got to pull up, bro. So I think about this in the aspect of like knowing that I have like a rare success in this space, especially cutting through when it's not focused on rage bait, clickbait, divisive topics, but more community building, addressing our issues. And I'm getting a lot of questions in the same vein as y'all about wealth and things like that, where my focus is about the amount of lives that we're going to impact and change, perspectives that we're going to change, which builds wealth naturally because we're all going to be in community with one another, and we're going to be focused on what each other needs instead of like what we can sell to the greater population, right? So how do you balance, this for ND? Nah, you was popping it, bro. How do you balance not only like this pursuit of profit for self, but impact and community building in the same time? Like, how do you keep a balance between those two things while you also make sure you're taking care of yourself?
So it's just something you have to do. You have to not be selfish. You have to understand that you can help the community. You can help those out there. So with me personally, you know, I used to have dreams of being a billionaire, have this empire, but similar to what Martellus mentioned, you know, I want to be successful, but I want to be able to move at my own pace, move at my own speed. And financial literacy for young black boys is what's big for me. So we started the War Owl Foundation. It's a nonprofit where we basically raise money and we give to other nonprofits that are focused on financial literacy. So I think a big problem, you know, in our community, and I'm not going to be as poetic as my brother here, is that we're so scattered. And there's a family, the Rose Development family, Courtney Rose, who's sitting right here. I've been hearing about her for 20 years. I've been hearing about their family, and she lives 2 doors down from me, and today's the first day I met her. So, and it's because we don't really go out and embrace each other. We don't really go out. When we network, unfortunately, from what I've seen, if we don't get a deal on that one networking event, it's like, oh, that was a waste of time. And even when it comes out to just being out there and helping out, so if we could just come together, it doesn't even have to just be about money, but just teaching and knowledge. And, you know, telling the young brothers, like, hey, if you don't make it in football, you can still make it. You know, whether it's through using your imagination, whether it's through real estate. Like, you don't even have to know what you want to do, but you have to know how to get there, how to preserve the money that you've made. Because I feel like even if your job isn't your passion, if you're able to make enough money, you can invest in your passion. Like if I was into art, I wouldn't know how to monetize that, but I'll try to make as much money on this side, so so I could entertain it and be a part of it. But I just feel like with the community, and you talk about helping the youth and talking about bringing up young men, we just have to go out there and do it. And I feel like a lot of times, especially the successful folks, they just want to stay in their own lane. They feel like we have that crabs in a bucket type knowledge mentality where, oh, if I show him how to get paid, then he's going to take from me. No, there's a lot out there for everybody. You can share the knowledge. You can all make something from it. And the boy that I just talked about, the young man that I talked about who interned with me, I mean, he's down there my boss now. Like he's the one showing me how to make money on the finance side. He's the one kind of leading the charge. So don't be afraid to like go out there and teach what you know.
That they calling our time now. So if y'all want to just give, yeah, they finna. If y'all want to give these panelists a round of applause.
Are we doing questions? No?
So we know that it's going to be a million questions, so we will allow y'all to ask questions off stage for the sake of time. But I do want to thank let's do one more round of applause for our panelists and also for our amazing moderator.